Hey Facebook, hey YouTube, it's Chantrelle Lashae. This is the Chantrelle Club, and it has been a minute. Today we are doing the absolute last chapter, the season finale, so you may, of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This is the last chapter of the book. I split it up into 3 parts because it was a pretty long chapter. So today we'll be doing the last part 3 of chapter 15, which will be pages 360 through 374. So it'll be a short night tonight. It's been a long time coming. This has been great. This has been a life-changing experience doing the book club, honest. Just continue to follow me and you'll see why. But I hope this has helped you grow in some form or fashion, or at least made you aware of the power of your mind and made you want to explore it a little bit deeper. But it is 10 o'clock on the dot, so we will go ahead and get started. This is Chantrelle Lashae with the Chantrelle Club. This is for dope minds only. It's not a place for entertainment. Please love and respect that. Let's get started. All right, so we're at the bottom of page 360. The Devil's Workshop. The 7th basic evil. In addition to the 6 basic fears, there's another evil by which people suffer. It constitutes a rich soil in which the seeds of failure grow abundantly. It is so subtle that its presence often is not detected. This affliction cannot properly be classed as a fear. It is more deeply seated and more often fatal than all of the 6 fears. For want of a better name, let us call this evil susceptibility to negative influences. Men who accumulate great riches always protect themselves against this evil. The poverty-stricken never do. Those who succeed in any calling must prepare their minds to resist the evil. If you are reading this philosophy for the purpose of accumulating riches, you should examine yourself very carefully to determine whether you are susceptible to negative influences. If you neglect this self-analysis, you will forfeit your right to attain the object of your desires. Make the analysis searching. After you read the questions prepared for this self-analysis, hold yourself accountable to a strict accounting in your answers. Go at the task as carefully as you would search for any other enemy you knew would be awaiting you in an ambush, and deal with your own faults as you would with a more tangible enemy. You can easily protect yourself against highway robbers, but the law provides organized cooperation for your benefit. But the 7th basic fear is more difficult to master because it strikes you when you are not aware of its presence, when you are asleep and while you are awake. Moreover, its weapon is intangible because it consists of merely a state of mind. This evil is so dangerous because it strikes in as many different forms as there are human experiences. Sometimes it enters the mind through the well-meant words of one's own relatives. At other times, it bores from within through one's own mental attitude. Always, it is as deadly as poison, even though it may not kill you as quickly. How to protect yourself against negative influences. To protect yourself against negative influences, whether of your own making or the result of activities of negative people around you, recognize that you have a willpower and put it into constant use until it builds a wall of immunity against negative influences in your own mind. Recognize the fact that you and every other human being is by nature lazy, indifferent, and susceptible to all suggestions which harmonize with your weakness. Recognize that you are by nature susceptible to all the 6 basic fears, and set up habits for the purpose of counteracting all these fears. Recognize that negative influences often work on you through your subconscious mind, Therefore, they are difficult to detect, and keep your mind closed against all people who depress or discourage you in any way. Clean out your medicine chest. Throw away all pill bottles and stop pondering to colds, aches, pains, and imaginary illness. Deliberately seek the company of people who influence you to think and act for yourself. Do not accept troubles as they have a tendency not to do not accept troubles as they have a tendency not to disappoint. Let me read that again. Do not accept troubles as they have a tendency not to disappoint. Okay. Without doubt, the most common weakness of all human beings is the habit of leaving their minds open to the negative influence of other people. This weakness is all more damaging because most people do not recognize that they are cursed by it, and many who acknowledge it neglect or refuse to correct the evil until it becomes an uncontrollable part of their daily habits. To aid those who wish to see themselves as they really are, the following list of questions has been prepared. Read the questions and state your answers aloud so you can hear your own voice. This will make it easier for you to be truthful with yourself. All right, so this is the self-analysis part. Basically, this part is really good for you to do on your own, honestly, to do a self-analysis, self-check yourself. But I'll read all the questions. This is about 4 pages of questions, self-analysis. All right. So just think to yourself, but it's better if you take the time to do it on your own. And we're on page 363. Self-analysis test questions. Do you complain often of feeling badly? And if so, what is the cause? Do you find fault with other people at the slightest provocation? Do you frequently make mistakes in your work? And if so, why? Are you sarcastic and offensive in your conversation? Do you deliberately avoid the association of anyone? And if so, why? Do you suffer frequently from indigestion? If so, what is the cause? Like, this stuff literally causes indigestion. Thinking negative thoughts it's crazy how much your body is in tune with your mind. Your body tells you a lot about your mind. Your body is the physical representation of your mind. If you ask me, the better my mind got, the more that I started to study and become more aware and become more open-minded, the healthier my body became. The more I worked out. It's crazy. Your body really is a physical being of your mind. Healthy mind, healthy body. Healthy body, healthy mind. But okay, back to the self-analysis. Does life seem futile and the future hopeless to you? If so, why? Do you like your occupation? And if not, why? Do you often self-pity? Do you often feel self-pity? And if so, why? Are you envious of those who excel you? To which do you devote most time? Thinking of success or of failure? Are you gaining or losing self-confidence as you grow older? Do you learn something of value from all mistakes? Are you permitting some relative or acquaintance to worry you? If so, why? Are you sometimes in the clouds and other times in the depths of despondency? Who has the most inspiring influence upon you? And what is the cause? Do you tolerate negative or discouraging influences which you can avoid? Are you careless of your personal appearance? If so, when and why? Have you learned how to drown your troubles by being too busy to be annoyed by them? That's a big one. For me, it was. Would you call yourself a spineless weakling if you permitted others to do your thinking for you? Of course. Do you neglect internal bathing until auto intoxication makes you feel ill tempered and irritable? Negative. How many preventable disturbances annoy you, and why do you tolerate them? Do you resort to liquor, narcotics, or cigarettes to quiet your nerves? If so, why do you not try willpower instead? Mm. Does anyone nag you, and if so, for what reason? Do you have a definite major purpose, and if so, what is it, and what plan have you for achieving it? Do you suffer from any of the 6 basic fears? If so, which ones? Have you a method by which you can shield yourself against the negative influences of others? Let me read that one again. Have you a method by which you can shield yourself against the negative influence of others? Do you make deliberate use of autosuggestion to make your mind positive? I do this all the time. Now, whenever I'm thinking anything negative, no matter how true it may be in the moment, or no matter what kind of situation I'm in, whenever my mind is not happy, whenever I'm aware that my mind is not thinking about good stuff, whenever I'm aware that I'm not feeling happy, I just say my auto suggestion. I just say it. I just say it until until I can feel it, until my mind refocuses on my goal. No matter what the situation is, that's what I'm currently doing. And it takes practice. It does. But the more you practice, the more you are, or for me, the more I practice, the more I'm aware of what my mind is doing and what direction it's going in. Keep your mind focused on the good stuff. No matter what's going on around you, what you focus on expands. What you focus on, it brings more of that to you. So no matter what it is, always find a way to focus on the positive. And my way of doing that is to say my auto suggestion. Just say it whenever I'm off, whenever I'm off track, whenever I feel my mind wandering somewhere that doesn't align with my goal. I just say my auto suggestion. I just keep saying it over and over and over again. Where was I at? Okay. Okay. Do you suffer from any of the 6 basic fears? If so, which ones? So the 6 basic fears are earlier in the chapter. If you missed the previous readings, of course, they're online at chantrelle.com. And if you want to read it for yourself, get the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. But the free PDF for Think and Grow Rich is also in the bio of all the videos, and then it's also on the homepage of chantrelle.com. You might want to read this chapter. This is a chapter you really have to read and meditate on by yourself. And I did once, but now that I'm speaking out loud, I'm realizing I need to focus on this chapter again by myself. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Bottom of 364. Have you a method by which you can shield yourself against the negative influence of others? Do you make deliberate use of autosuggestion to make your mind positive? That's what we were on. Which do you value most? Your material possessions or your privilege of controlling your own thoughts? Are you easily influenced by others against your own judgment? Has today added anything of value to your stock of knowledge or state of mind? Do you face squarely the circumstances which make you unhappy or sidestep the responsibility? Do you analyze all mistakes and failures and try to profit by them, or do you take the attitude that this is not your duty? Let me read that one again. Do you analyze all mistakes and failures and try to profit by them, Or do you take the attitude that this is not your duty? Can you name 3 of your most damaging weaknesses? What are you doing to correct them? Do you encourage other people to bring their worries to you for sympathy? Do you choose from your daily experiences lessons or influences which aid in your personal advancement? Does your presence have a negative influence on other people as a rule? What habits of other people annoy you most? Do you form your own opinions or permit yourself to be influenced by other people? Have you learned how to create a mental state of mind with which you can shield yourself against all discouraging influences? Does your occupation inspire you with faith and hope? Are you conscious of possessing spiritual forces of sufficient power to enable you to keep your mind free from all forms of fear? Let's read that one again. Are you conscious of possessing spiritual forces of sufficient power to enable you to keep your mind free of all forms of fear? Are you conscious that you have a spiritual power inside of you to the point where you don't have to worry about anything? You don't have to have fear. Are you aware that you have the power in you to take care of any and everything? Is what that one is. Are you aware of that? And if you are aware of that, are you capable of exercising that? And if you don't know how to exercise it and want to know how to exercise it, that's where auto-suggestion comes in. That's the basic principle. I'm still mastering it myself, but I'm a living witness that practice makes perfect. Practice really does make perfect. If you want to change your life, practice positive mental attitude and watch how your life grows. You'll have challenges, of course, and it'll be like your mind is going back and forth between the old negative ways and then or thought habits and then the positive. You'll go back and forth. It'll be a constant battle. For a minute, it still is for me, but it's a lot more positive vibes than it is negative. And now I'm aware of the negative can't come without me recognizing it. Before, I didn't recognize, but I recognize whenever my mind is not on a positive note, and I bring it back to where it needs to be. And if all else fails, if I don't know anything to bring it back, I'll watch a funny video just to get my mind into a happy mode, a happy feeling. Or, of course, I just say my auto suggestion. If all else fails, when I'm feeling myself, just say your auto suggestion. Just say your auto suggestion. Just say it. Just bring your mind back to your goal. Bring your mind back to your goal. Because at the end of the day, that's all you're focused on is your goal. Everything else is just on the side. You right here. Everything else is over here. Focus on getting to that goal. None of this matters. Focus on getting to that goal. All right. I don't even remember where I was. Oh, yes, I do. Okay. Does your religion help you to keep your own mind positive? Do you feel it your duty to share other people's worries? If so, why? If you believe that birds of a feather flock together, what have you learned about yourself by studying the friends whom you attract? That's a big one right there. What connection, if any, so what kind of friends have I attracted? What connection, if any, do you see between the people with whom you associate most closely and any unhappiness you may experience? Could it be possible that some person whom you consider to be your friend is in reality your worst enemy because of his negative influence on your mind? By what rules do you judge who is helpful and who is damaging you? Are you intimate associate no. Are your intimate associates mentally superior or inferior to you? How much time out of every 24 hours do you devote to your occupation, to your sleep, to play and relaxation, to acquiring useful knowledge, and to plain waste. How much time do you devote to those? Who among your acquaintances encourages you most, cautions you most, discourages you most, or helps you most in other ways? What is your greatest worry, and why do you tolerate it? When others offer you free, unsolicited advice, do you accept it without question or analyze their motive? What above all else do you desire? Do you intend to acquire it? To acquire it? Are you willing to subordinate all other desires for this one? How much time daily do you devote to acquiring it? Do you change your mind often? And if so, why? Do you usually finish everything you begin? Are you easily impressed by others' businesses or professional titles, college degrees, or wealth? Are you easily influenced by what other people think or say of you? Do you cater to people because of their social or financial status? Whom do you believe to be the greatest person living? And in what respect is this person superior to yourself? How much time have you devoted to studying and answering these questions? At least one day is necessary for the analysis and the answering of this entire list. And I am going to take a day and really take this self-analysis serious because if I'm being really honest, I've read through the analysis multiple times, but I've never sat down and just took the time and analyzed myself for real. You know, I've read through it and was like, do I do that? Do I do that? Yeah, no. And then I move on, but I'll do this analysis for real myself. Okay. If you have answered all these questions truthfully, you know more about yourself than the majority of people. Study the questions carefully. Come back to them once each week for several months and be astounded at the amount of additional knowledge of great value to yourself you will have gained by the simple method of answering the questions truthfully. If you are not where did I just lost my spot? Oh, if you are not certain concerning the answers to some of the questions, seek the counsel of those who know you well, especially those who have no motive in flattering you, and see yourself through their eyes. The experience will be astonishing. You have absolute control over but one thing, and that is your thoughts. This is the most significant and inspiring of all facts known to man. It reflects man's divine nature. This divine prerogative is the sole means by which you may control your own destiny. If you fail to control your own mind, you may be sure you will not control anything else. If you must be careless with your possessions, let it be in connection to your material things. Your mind is your spiritual estate. Protect and use it with care to which divine royalty is entitled. You were given a willpower for this reason. Unfortunately, there is no legal protection against those who either by design or ignorance poison the minds of others by negative suggestion. This form of destruction should be punishable by heavy legal penalties because it may and often does destroys one's chances of acquiring material things which are protected by law. Men with negative minds tried to convince Thomas A. Edison that he could not build a machine that would record and reproduce the human voice because they said no one else had ever produced such a machine. Edison did not believe them. He knew that the mind could produce anything the mind could conceive and believe, and this knowledge was the thing that lifted the great Edison above the common herd. Men with negative minds told F.W. Woolworth he would go broke trying to run a store on 5 and 10-cent sales. He did not believe them. He knew that he could do anything within reason if he backed his plans with faith. Exercising his right to keep other men's negative suggestions out of his mind, he piled up a fortune of more than $100 million. Men with negative minds told George Washington he could not hope to win against the vastly superior forces of the British, but he exercised his divine right to believe. Therefore, this book was published under the protection of the Stars and Stripes, while the name of Lord Cornwallis, I guess, has been all but forgotten. Doubting Thomases scoffed scornfully when Henry Ford tried out his first crudely built automobile on the streets of Detroit. Some said the thing would never become practical. Others said no one would pay money for such a contraption. Ford said, "I'll belt the earth with dependable motor cars," and he did. His decision to trust his own judgment has already piled up a fortune far greater than the next 5 generations of his descendants can squander. For the benefit of those seeking vast riches, let it be remembered that practically the sole difference between Henry Ford and the majority of more than 100,000 men who work for him is this: Ford has a mind and controls it. The others have minds which they do not try to control. See, the thing about it is all you have to do is try to control it. You just have to try. You have to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And eventually, one day, you just be like, my mind is doing exactly what I tell it to do. It's not telling me what to do. I'm guiding it. One day you just realize that, even if it's just for a moment, even if it's not an all-day thing that your mind listens to you, just in that moment when you realize you have full control. It's a beautiful thing. But all you have to do is try. You're not going to it won't immediately happen, but you have to keep at it. Henry Ford has been repeatedly mentioned because he is an astounding example of what a man with a mind of his own and a will to control it can accomplish. His record knocks the foundation from under that time-worn alibi, "I never had a chance." Ford never had a chance either, but he created an opportunity and backed it with persistence until it made him richer than Croesus. It was Croesus, and that was a Greek god. Mind control is the result of self-discipline and habit. You either control your mind or it controls you. There is no halfway compromise. The most practical of all methods for controlling the mind is the habit of keeping it busy with a definite purpose, backed by a definite plan. Study the record of any man who achieves noteworthy success, and you will observe that he has control over his own mind. Moreover, that he exercises that control and directs it toward the attainment of definite objectives. Without this control, success is not possible. Okay. And now we get to, we're on page 370. Yeah, okay. We're on page 370. 57 Famous Alibis by Old Man If. I like this one. Okay. People who do not succeed have one distinguishing trait in common. They know all the reasons for failure and have what they believe is an airtight alibi to explain away their own lack of achievement. Some of these alibis are clever, and a few of them are justifiable by facts. But alibis cannot be used for money. The world wants to know only one thing: have you achieved success? A character analyst compiled a list of the most commonly used alibis. As you read the list, examine yourself carefully and determine how many of these alibis, if any, are your own property. Remember, too, the philosophy presented in this book makes every one of these alibis obsolete. All right. I had a couple of these alibis, and reading it made me a lot more aware of myself, my actions, my mindset. All right, so let's go. If I didn't have a wife and family, if I had enough pool, if I had money, if I had a good education, if I could get a job, if I had good health, if only I had time, if times were better, if other people understood me, if conditions around me were only different, if I could live my life over again, if I did not fear what they would say, if I had been given a chance, if I now had a chance, if other people didn't have it in for me, if nothing happens to stop me, if I were only younger, if I could only do what I want, if I had been born rich, if I could meet the right people, if I had the talent if I had the talent that some people have, if I dared assert myself, if only I had embraced past opportunities, if people didn't get on my nerves, if I didn't have to keep my house and look after the children, if I could save some money, if the boss only appreciated me, if I only had somebody to help me, if my family understood me, if I lived in a big city, if I could just get started, if I were only free, if I had the personality of some people, if I were not so fat, if my talents were known, if I could just get a break, if I could only get out of debt, if I hadn't failed, if I only knew how, if everybody didn't oppose me, if I didn't have so many worries, if I could marry the right person, if people weren't so dumb, if my family were not so extravagant, if I were sure of myself, if luck was not against me, if I had not been born under the wrong star, if it were not true that what is to be will be, if I did not have to work so hard, if I hadn't lost my money, if I lived in a different neighborhood, if I didn't have a past, if I only had a business of my own, if other people would only listen to me, if, and the greatest of them all, if I had the courage to see myself as I really am, I will find out what is wrong with me and correct it. Then I might have a chance to profit by my mistakes and learn something from the experiences of others, for I know that there is something wrong with me, or I would now be where I would have been if I had spent more time analyzing my weaknesses and less time building alibis to cover them. Building alibis with which to explain away failure is a national pastime. The habit is as old as the human race, and it is fatal to success. Why do people cling to their pet alibis? The answer is obvious. They defend their alibis because they create them. A man's alibi is the child of his own imagination. It is human nature to defend one's own brainchild. Building alibis is a deeply rooted habit. Habits are difficult to break, especially when they provide justification for something we do. Plato had this truth in mind when he said, "The first and best victory is to conquer self. To be conquered by self of all things is the most shameful and vile." Another philosopher had the same thought in mind when he said, "It was a great surprise to me when I discovered that most of the ugliness I saw in others was but a reflection of my own nature." "It has always been a mystery to me," said Elber Hubert, "why people spend so much time deliberately fooling themselves by creating alibis to cover their weaknesses. If used differently, this same time will be sufficient to cure the weakness, Then no alibis would be needed. In parting, I will remind you that life is a checkerboard, and the player opposite of you is time. If you hesitate before moving or neglect to move promptly, your man will be wiped off the board by time. You are playing against a partner who will not tolerate indecision. Previously, you may have had a logical excuse for not having forced life to come through with what you asked, but that alibi is now obsolete because you are in possession of the master key that unlocks the door to life's bountiful riches. The master key is intangible, but it is powerful. It is the privilege of creating in your own mind a burning desire for a definite form of riches. There is no penalty for this use of key, but there is a price you must pay if you do not use it. The price is failure. The reward is of stupendous proportions if you put the key to use. It is the satisfaction that comes to all who conquer self and force life to pay whatever is asked. The reward is worthy of your effort. Will you make the start and be convinced? If we are related, said the immortal Emerson, we shall meet. In closing, may I borrow his thought and say, if we are related, we have, through these pages, met. The end. That is the end of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. We have completed all 15 chapters, and this is a joyous moment for me. It's been a long time coming, and this has really helped with my commitment. It's built my commitment muscle to a whole nother level, and it's made me realize my patterns and how I start and how I end, because how I started this book club, I started aggressively, and then towards the end I got shaky. I skipped a couple of sessions. The last chapter kept getting pushed out, and so I was able to see my own patterns and how I do things when I'm starting a project, because doing this made me think of my other projects, and I'm like, I started out on my last project like that, started out 100%. Then when it's towards the end, get a little shaky. But at the end that's not when you're supposed to get shaky. That's when you're supposed to go even harder. But this book club has been a blessing. It's been a beautiful experience for me, and I hope it's helped someone else. It's at least opened your mind to new thoughts. But it's the end of Chantrelle Club. At the moment, Chantrelle Lashae, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. All of the live sessions will be on chantrellelashae.com. At the moment, I'm working on something real big, so I will be going on a hiatus, but of course I'll be back, because who leaves social media forever, right? But I'll be going on a hiatus. This has been a great experience. This has grown me mentally and spiritually. And I appreciate all those who have participated. And I'm excited to see where this book club goes, because this is only the beginning. This book club is only the beginning. It will blow up and it will change so many lives. And my life will be an example of the 13 Steps of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So for the last time, for a good little minute, this is Chantrelle Lashae with the Chantrelle Club. For dope minds only. This is a place where we learn, where we grow together mentally and spiritually. This is not a place for entertainment. This is a place for dope minds only. Love and respect that shit. This is Chantrelle Lashae. Y'all have a good night.